It's October again, and with that comes yet another Monster Mash adjacent storyline in Shareverse. And there is no other storyline that fits that bill more than Blood of Sephzero, a revenge story that resulted in the first appearance of said organization. And since that storyline's conclusion in 2016, I had used the monster-themed women in several other storylines. But in 2017, something within each member began to change, nay, mutate into an unpredictable catalysm. This is Blood of Sephzero 2. I'm AJ, and much like Stand Up 2 earlier that year, Blood of Sephzero 2 is another sequel storyline to Units that occurs in 2017. Once again, I will be using characters made from the artist Sephzero, so if you like that kind of stuff, or not, you could check out his content, which is perfect timing because every October is Monster Mash over there. This idea came to me in the fact that a handful of members in the organization not only have a normal human form and a monster form, but some of them have a third form in between the two. With that in mind, I said screw it, and came up with fan-made second forms, or midlands, for the remaining members. And you could see some of those examples previously in the Unit's finale. But now, the whole organization will be getting that treatment. The question at hand being, how? Following her flawless victory in Super Smash Lesbians the series, mascot and self-appointed Sephzero organization leader, Starla the Sensational, made the revelation that her crazed form is an evolution of her magical appearance. Other members such as Jackie and Isa also had a second stage to their transformations, but this was the first time a member tried to inquire on this phenomenon. In recent months, members that were already inducted were getting new second forms. Starla wanted to catch this high, as she ordered Cheryl to research within properties of the Sephzero blood. What they discovered would change the entire meta-narrative of the organization forever. On Halloween, the former members of the organization got together for the festivities, with local ally AJ, my reflection, accompanying them. Everybody had a costume that reflected themselves, but as the night came to a close, the traitors were stopped by the members of the organization, Draika, Unimara, and the Headless Horseman's horse, the same first three members that they fought in Blood of Sephzero 1. They stated that the anniversary was coming up next month, and wanted to engage in a fight for old time's sake. But as the fight started to go underway, Draika's body imploded as veins and thorns filled up her exposed innards. Unimara shrunk down to a humanoid horse, looking no similar to that of the equestrians, and the horse's back stretched open to reveal the resurrected Headless Horseman. The girls at first were confused, but realized that these changes were legit. They now had to deal with this new struggle of combat. Unimara's new form having traces to the equestrians, proving that she is a common ancestor to that race. Draika was able to shoot plants out of her arms, and the horseman was attached to his horse. But after fighting tooth and nail, the traitors emerged victorious. But that's when they realized that if these members had new abilities, who's to say the others didn't have one as well? The main trio of traitors were not the only ones which were affected by the new threats of mutation. The Shaw cousins, Sigurd and Trisha, got their own upgrades. Nellie Patrick received a furry form that was not from Vixia's control. Whatever was going on, it was affecting all members of the organization with various qualities. The former group had their own battle with Last Chimera, who was now a dinosaur-like creature, and Supernova, who was now an alligator alien creature. But the cousins were easily able to adapt to their new powers and kill the intruders. But they found out they were being spectated. From the shadows emerged a tall, muscular humanoid wolf and his female wolf associate. The man called himself Savage Knight, and announced that he was the latest member of the organization, and the donor for the Midland pandemic. His maiden, named Gruvia, told him that the girls were already tired and they left. For what former organization members did not realize that night, the week of the Midlands had arrived. So what is a Midland form? Each member of the Sephzero organization has a specific type of blood to correlate to their individual transformations. whether it be from the initial transformation or evolving over time, allowing a member to have a second form called a midland, these being either stronger or weaker to the main transformation depending on each member. We've seen a couple of them, such as Awakened Aaron in the unit's finale, as well as Margaret Plus, but most importantly, Crazed Starla. Starla's midland formed awakened during the stream, and since has been trying to figure out how to accelerate the awakening process for the rest of the members. Using Cheryl to do scientific research, the two discovered the specific flow of when a midland form can be awakened. All they needed was to figure out how to spread it to others. And with the yearly induction of member applications, Starla had the opportunity to pick the next member that already had a midland form from the start. And so, she picked Presta Garcia Reyes, a woman who turns into the Wolf Beast Savage Knight, but also has a controllable middle form named Grimpaw. By donating their blood, Cheryl was able to create an airborne solution that would spread throughout the world. This infection would only affect current and former Sephzero members by rapidly accelerating the awakening process for each midland form. According to Cheryl's estimations, every member would have a midland formed by the end of the week. With the growing threat of the organization once more, AJ decided to stay with the former members the following morning. Now what about Miss Lilith, the main character of Blood of Sephzero 1? Her absence this time wasn't because of a vacation she had, but rather, by November, the Disney Civil War had ended! Whenever I get back to DFE, I will explain that in detail. I'm not trying to brush that off or resolve it off screen. She was busy with the reconstruction of the Orlando parks, but that didn't stop Starla from missing out on a golden opportunity to kill her mortal enemy that she never fought. However, Lilithmon was well informed about the rise of the Midlands and already assumed Starla had a plan for her. Fearing this attack would delay the reconstruction, Miss Lilith ordered all workers to cease at night and go home. There was only a small quantity of Midland members, but they featured some heavy hitters, such as Jackie, Isa, and Hannah, all of which having an adversary to the co-owner. But as the girls arrived to the main center, their target was waiting for them, taking a page from her aunt's book of badassery. It turns out Miss Lilith knew exactly which members would arrive because of their past fights and Jackie's memories that she still downloaded all those years ago. With this advantage, she created traps specifically designed for each member, none of which caused any damages to the reconstruction. With her lineup, she got to have rematches with her rivals within the organization, some more personal than others. After defeating the threats, Lilithmon assumed that she was done, but she was stopped by yet another rival, the self-titled Demon Lord Black Fox, who was more eager than ever to offer a rematch. But with her easy defeat last time, Miss Lilith assumed that this would be brief, but was underestimated when a giant scorpion-like skeleton ripped out of Black Fox's body as her deceased skin attached to it on strings. This fight was not planned, as some of the buildings got wrecked and destroyed again. Eventually, Miss Lilith figured out that she would have to damage both the skeleton and the skin at the same time in order to kill it, and by that luck, the threats at the Disney parks were squashed. Let's just say that Mickey was not too pleased with the damages the next morning. Now, as for Starla's other target, Rosalina was making some early preparations for the upcoming final event of the Smash Parody series. But since the outbreak was so rampant, she was aware that neither AJ or Starla would show up for that Friday night's event. But on November 1st, she was attacked and ambushed by the latest member. Thinking about how her partner was helping the former members, and that his date wasn't around, Savage Knight wanted to have some fun with his new toy. And he wasn't alone. The other masculine wolfman of the organization, the Big Bad Wolf, and their friend from the organization, Chris Fang, engaged in, well, actual torture. Not in a sexual way, just a straight-up beatdown. On the other side of town, the others were fighting more Midlands, but it wouldn't take long for Ryder and Ethan to get their Midland forms to help out Awakened Aaron. Ryder was able to have a middle-of-the-road form between her and Rolanda, allowing her to have the best traits of both girls. And as for Ethan, he became a metaphorical second head, helping her watch her six in battle, though not being physical enough to actually engage in fighting. But they both managed. After yet another night of fighting, the group returned to AJ's house to debrief, only to find Rosalina struggling to get back into the house in critical condition. The unspeakable torment made everyone go in a blind fury, cursing that Starla would pay for this punishment. But for Rosalina, she made the sudden realization of who Starla was. Up until 2016, Rosalina's goal was to be the astral goddess of Nintendo, and while she eventually reached that status, her former malicious intent was now behind her. After their fight in Smash Lesbians the series, Rosalina saw herself in Starla, realizing that she would have become that kind of person if her Samus hate continued down that path. To which she made a personal promise that she would be the one to defeat Starla, but she wasn't fully confident in herself for that, and also a major roadblock was in her way. The next night, the former members fought even more Midland forms, including organization friend Chris Fang, but in addition was also the Big Bad Wolf. But in almost a fitting manner, his Midland form stripped him from all of his super strength and became a regular human being, so he was easily disposed of. Additionally, Savage Knight's main girl, Gruvia, got involved, but instead of getting killed, she broke up with him after what she did to Rosalina the prior night. But at the end of the fight, the organization members were dwindled down to their most important players left on the field. But also on that day, Rosalina made the full commitment to help the others out. But if she needed that boost in confidence, she needed to spar with the one who slayed them the first time around. Yeah, she fought Miss Lilith. The two sparred on equal footing, and afterwards, Rosalina made the decision that she would not be able to attend the event the following night, for she had to get back on the threats around her. But none of that would be relevant for everyone else, with November 3rd being showtime for the final event of Super Smash Lesbians. Now, the event of Super Smash Lesbians, the series for Switch, was already chronicled in its own video, so to avoid any overlap, I'll make the recap brief. Basically, AJ, Starla, Rosalina, and several other organization members did not appear for the final event. Anna was running the event similar to the Melee event in 2016, and there was no disturbances until Rosalina bursted onto the stream, warning everybody about the organization, such as Gloria Hyde, one of the members that showed up for the event, changing into her Midland werewolf form, to which she was easily defeated. Afterwards, Savage Knight attacked and became a member of the production based on the parody series' rules. He was sent in by Starla to the production to cause more mayhem and death, not knowing that Rosalina was already present during the stream. He tried to go for his ultimate move again, but Rosalina was able to stop him and break his secret weapon. After forcing the answer out of him, Savage Knight revealed Starla was at the Fountain of Dreams, planning for her final battle. Rosalina shot and killed the wolf, and made her way to the Space Fountain. And now, the proper final battle of Blood of Sephzero 2. The four arrived at the Fountain of Dreams earlier on in the night, where Starla had planned for the most important members of the team to finally show their Midland forms first. Both August and Helen contorted into insect-like monsters, with Helen having a near light-speed healing factor. The four clashed with the two, and they were a lot on their hands. At first, they focused on August since she was the smaller of the two. After defeating her, they put all of their efforts onto Helen, realizing that the only way to kill her was by ripping out her heart and destroying it. The last major obstacle before Starla was Cheryl, who had a Midland formed where her body was now mounted on the legs of a crab and had the wings of an eagle. With this particular order of Starla's plan, it was all coming together. Once again, the traitors killed Cheryl, but they were immensely exhausted from the non-stop fighting, as she switched into her crazed form and attacked. The traitors did not stand a chance, in which Starla unveiled her ultimate move to all of them, the Pendulum. 12 consecutive strike attacks, concluding with a 13th deadly attack. Ryder, Aaron, and Ethan could barely stand, while AJ tried and failed to get back on his feet. Eventually, all 4 were knocked out, and Starla was the last woman standing. Until she noticed Rosalina's arrival. She engaged in a rematch with Starla, though this time in her nightmare form. The two clashed throughout the fountain, around both the corpses and unconscious bodies. The fight was brutal, with blood and even limbs flying across one another, and Rosalina miraculously dodged a pendulum attack from Starla right as the 13th hit was about to hit her, though not without sustaining some injuries. In addition, she was able to get a good shot off of Starla near the upper portion of her body. This fight was therapeutic to Rosalina, fighting a reflection of her former self and moving on from those dark times. But in its climax, just when Starla seemed to have an upper hand, she couldn't move. Her bones and her legs were shattered. Rosalina used this opportunity to land a final blast and evaporated Starla. Rosalina used what little energy she had to teleport the others to the emergency services back on Earth. Knowing that the Parody Series event ended on a crowd-pleasing high note made both her and AJ feel satisfied in closing the book of that chapter. Over time, the members of the organization were revived, but with such a major loss, they could not afford to cause another attack once more. But in the end, the traitors could feel more relieved living free lives outside of the organization. At last, the Midland Week came to a close. Blood of Sephzero 2 is the major change for the organization and Shareverse, this and Stand Up 2 being the extra follow-up works of units. But there may or may not be one more epilogue to the storyline. Am I bluffing or am I telling the truth? Stay tuned. But if you thought some of this stuff was kind of cool, consider leaving a like. If you don't want to subscribe, you don't have to subscribe. Until then, I'm AJ, and I'll see you all in the next one.